Howdy champs, my name is Mohit and people, today we're going to talk about a property, CSS3 property, border image. It makes awesome borders for you, trust me on that. Let me show you a browser preview straight away people. Just to keep things very simple and easy for you. Instead of coding out yourself, you're going to depend on a CSS3 generator that will generate the code for you, and the URL is border-image.com. It's border-image.com. Alright, and let me show you some borders that are actually created for you. This is one variation, this is another variation, and this is the third variation people. You'll be able to do so too once you learn how to use this border-image.com generator editor. Alright, I have certain borders already for you. Let me show it up. Okay, I have border 1, border 2, border 3, border 4, border 5, and this should be border 6 actually. Let me just rename it border 6. Alright, this is a GIF image, this is a PNG image. Alright, so what you can do is, if you really like these borders, you want these borders, I'm gonna zip it up and I'm gonna push it onto my hosting server, and you can download it from there. The URL will be http://qualitylessons.net/downloads1 number 1, that is .html. Alright, so let's see how we can actually use this border image generator editor. Okay, so by default this image will appear. Let's say I would want to use a different image. Let's browse for the image. Let's say I would want to use this image. Alrighty, people, there's a preview that is generated out here, and there's some code that is generated out here automatically. So this generator does the coding for you. It really, does all the hard work for you. You hardly have to sweat. You just have to tell the editor what you really want, and then it will intelligently do everything for you. Alright, also notice that people, there are 3 variations while you're actually working with border images: repeat, stretch, and round. And again, which variation you should be using will entirely depend on your browser preview. Do not depend on the preview that you see out here people. Ensure that you take the code, push it inside Dreamweaver, take up a browser preview, and then decide whether you should be using repeat, stretch, and round. Again, I'm not going to get into the details of their differences. It's best to do a trial and error. In some cases, repeat will look exactly like stretch, will also look exactly like round, but in some cases that won't happen. It's best to be absolutely sure by taking up a browser preview. Okay, so as I said, we will not focus too much onto the writing of the code, the understanding of the code. We'll only confine ourselves to how we will generate the code, and be content with the fact that yes, we are generating some awesome borders for our divisions, right? Or maybe our elements, not always divisions, maybe. Okay, so now the first thing that you need to do whenever you have an image to tackle is to slice it up into 9 different cells or 9 different parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's a correct method of doing it. Okay, see, you are allowed to use top offset, right offset, bottom offset, and left offset to do your slicing. The slicing should be done in a manner that the sides and the corners of the image are captured properly, and what is left there in the center cell or the center part out here should actually be either a gradient, as in this case, or a continuous hollow or a continuous color, and there should be no part of the border showing up out here. You'll understand very soon what exactly I mean. It's a little tricky to understand, it's a little tricky to explain. Again, when I do the slicing for you for at least 2 images, you'll get the hang of it. Let me do a top offset for you first. Okay, I think this is enough. See, when I do this, this is the slice people, this red line is demarcating or drawing the boundary for the slice. Now this is ensuring that every bit of the corner and every bit of the top border is actually being captured. Nothing is being lost. Similarly, let me do the right offset. This should be enough actually. You can even use the top, down, left and right arrow keys on the keyboard to, you know, do it properly if it's difficult to do with the mouse. So this I think works best. Okay, let me do the bottom offset. Let me fine tune with the keyboard. This probably looks fine to me. Alright, and the left offset, let me fine tune with the keyboard again. This looks best. Alright, so notice the way I've actually sliced this image into 9 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The center part is a simple, you know, it does not have any design, does not contain the borders. The borders are actually confined to the corners and the sides, and that is the way you should be slicing. So none of the, you know, none of the design should be entering this area, the center area, the belly, and the borders should go to the corners or the sides. This is the way you should be slicing, people. Don't slice it too much, don't slice it too less. All right, and then as I said, whether you would want to have it as you know, the vertical repeat to be a stretch or a repeat or a round will again depend on the kind of image that you're using, will depend on the size of the division that you decided to use. Alright, and for this specific image I've seen that stretch works best. Again, don't rely on the preview that you see out here, rely on the preview that you see for your specific image. So take this code and push it inside Dreamweaver. Alright, I'm gonna do just that. I'm gonna replace this code with the code that was generated, like so. Now let me take you through this document. The only division that we have inside the opening closing body tags is a division with an ID of BI. Now this division has a width of 400, height of 450. Again, this could change in your example. I'm using opening closing style tags with type set to text CSS, people. Again, I'm using internal or embedded styles, people. It could have been external too. Alright, and so ensure that you have a width and height set for your division, and then just copy over the code from the generator or the editor out here inside Dreamweaver. And let's take up a browser preview to see how things look like right now, and see how beautiful they look. The corners appear so nicely. We see the gradient fill inside, and awesome, absolutely awesome. I'm really pleased. I'm gonna take up yet another image so you'll understand the you know, the whole concept even better. So I'm gonna browse for the other image. Let's tackle this one. Okay, now it's a GIF image. People, you can actually increase the size of this image so you can actually slice it up better. I'm gonna increase the size. Alright, and now I'm gonna apply my slices through the top, right, bottom and left offsets. Again, I would want to keep the fill center. If you don't keep the fill center, it will default to the white color of the division, the background color, or whatever color you'd actually use for your division. But if you want to see the center, then keep this option on. Okay, let me slice in such a manner that the border is sliced up properly. Now again, let me do it from the right hand side, from the bottom. Don't slice more than you actually need to. Don't slice it less, don't slice it more, just slice it appropriately. Alright, but making sure that the center part, which is this part, the center cell or the center division, is actually does not contain any of the border designs, people. Nothing should enter this area. That's the best way of slicing it. And let me just do a fine tune now. I'm using the keyboard to fine tune. The bottom slicing now, and the left slicing. Yep. So I think I've sliced up the border image properly in such a manner that the center part is a complete plain single color. right? And again, for this example, I've seen that the best variation is stretch, not repeat or round, right? And I'm going to copy this code. I'm going to get inside Dreamweaver. Again, people, whether stretch works for you, round works for you, or repeat works for you is something you can only decide after taking up a browser preview. So depend on the trial and error. That's the best thing to do. Alright, this is the way things appear for me. See, if I go back to the generator, let me do that and change this to, let's say, a repeat, and I'm going to show you that this isn't as pleasing. I've also tried the round earlier, and we'll find that the best option is stretch. I'll say that again and again. Please only depend on the visual browser preview. Don't depend on this preview, people, that you see out here on the website border-image.com. Why you shouldn't depend on this preview is simply because your division has different dimensions and this isn't matching the same dimension. So basically these options, repeat, round or stretch, depend a lot on the dimensions of the div that you're using. So it's best to be inside Dreamweaver, take up a browser preview, and then ensure whether you would want this to repeat, round or stretch. Okay, let's save it up, take up a preview in Google Chrome. Alright, this is repeat, people, and this was stretch, and in my eyes quite clearly stretch is better than repeat. It's also better than round, people. Stretch is also better than round in for our example. Now, why is one variation better than the other? It's simply because it depends on a lot of factors. One of the factors is that the image that is being used, the pattern, the border pattern, okay, the dimensions of the division that you're applying it to, or the dimension of the element that you're applying the border image to. So the best thing to do here is to actually change the options from here. You can even have it repeat vertically and stretch vertically and repeat horizontally. Again, you can try different permutations, combination for vertical and horizontal, but in the end, take up a browser preview to decide what actually works for you. I have not gotten into the detail of how this code was actually generated. Do I actually need to do that? As long as you get what you really want, I'm sure you'll be happy. So since repeat is not working for me, I'm gonna go back to stretch, and let's take up a browser preview. I'm going to terminate the tutorial out here, people. I'll join you again in the next part. We're going to slice up and spice up 2 more images for you, just so that you get a hang of how you should be slicing. I'm absolutely sure, I'm quite confident that you know how to slice it, but again, it actually you'll get a better hang of things if I show you 2 more examples in the next part. We'll just go through that very quickly. If you really need to understand, if you're still a little confused, I can tell you that this concept is a little difficult to understand, a little difficult to explain too, right? So if you really must join me, then please join me in the next part where I'll slice up and spice up 2 more borders for you. You have a good day. Bye bye. Peace.